And certainly Plymouth Rock was not easy. Their goal was, of course, to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the landing of the Pilgrims at Plymouth Rock. And here they were, almost 300 years later, and the shoreline had changed. Spot where the Pilgrims had landed had actually been submerged by the sea, and the whole landscape was not an easy thing to work with. And it took them quite a few years to actually come up with a plan, and then finally this beautiful memorial portico that they did with granite and put in such a beautiful place and restored the original place where Plymouth Rock was. What an undertaking that was. And of course all the delays, not the least of which was World War I. Really, it slowed things down, but they soldiered on and got it done. And then I was really entertained to read about what it was like on that day when they finally, a year after the fact, when they would have wanted to dedicate it, of course, in 1920, but it got delayed with all of these challenges that they had, but they persevered. And in November of 1921, there they were with all of these dames gathered from all over the country in Boston. And they took a special train to Plymouth and dedicated it. And then our society president, she wrote about how that day this horrible storm just slammed the coast. And we know how the Atlantic can be, and certainly what our ancestors on the Mayflower went through. But there they were in the middle of this horrible storm. They dedicated this, and the president then, instead of lamenting about how horrible this was, she actually rolled it into the history of how we, as the descendants of those on the Mayflower, could perhaps just a little bit more clearly appreciate what our ancestors went through, to have to honor them, but to have these challenges, and then to have this storm at the end of it. But to think that, again, that portico is there and it will be there permanently, and to think of how many hundreds of thousands of people visit there over all of these years, and what an impact that is making to not just learn about history, but as best as we can try to live it and envision it and stand there on that shoreline at Plymouth and think about what really happened there. It's really quite special.